Hello, clever people, and welcome to my review for King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. So this film is directed by Guy Ritchie and stars Charlie Hunnam, Jude Law, and Eric Bana, and it revolves around the classic story of the sword and a stone. A man, or a boy in the original story, who pulled a sword out of the stone that no one else could and went on a wild adventure because of it. And this film follows, I guess, more of a realistic look at it. It's hard to say realistic with fantasy, but basically it goes for a more adult look, that's what I'll say, on this story. And it follows Charlie Hunnam. He pulls the sword out of the stone, and because of that, the king wants to kill him and show that he is the one that should lead, not the person who pulled out the sword. So it's about just a wild adventure that they go on because of that. This movie, I had a weird interest in seeing. I wasn't excited to see it because the trailers looked absolutely awful, so the reviews were really bad. Yet for some reason, there was a bit there that just sort of interested me. I don't really know why. Maybe it's because we got a fantasy look on a story that had been told so many different ways, so many different times to the point that it felt tired. However, I did go in expecting something bad, but what I came out with was honestly far worse than what I expected. King Arthur, Legend of the Sword is the second worst film of the year. I think it's only a tad above Bye Bye Man. I mean, this film is absolutely awful. Right from the opening scene where you really have no clue what's going on, the entire rest of the film is just so scatterbrained. It doesn't know what it's supposed to be. It tries to be super stylish, and then it ends up being really uninteresting and dull. It tries to be super fast, or like a really fast-paced, really entertaining, and then it has a super slow scene and super serious scene. The weird blend of this movie, honestly, just made no sense. The entire movie felt so inconsistent and choppy. The editing was absolutely awful. They have a lot of montage sequences, which I agree, are in part of Guy Ritchie's style. However, they did not work here. You also have a lot of battle sequences that are honestly just headache-inducing from how terribly they are edited, just the camera angling, how quick everything is. It's trying to be stylistic, but why are you trying to be stylistic when you just had a scene that was super sad, super depressing, where somebody died? There are so many scenes where I asked myself that question. It felt like it was trying to be a melodrama, yet at the same time they had random bursts of style, and it made no sense with the flow or the pace of the movie at all. The beginning is a great example of this, because you open and there's just mindless destruction. You really have absolutely no clue what's going on. And then suddenly you're just launched into this weird place where lots of people are dying, and then somebody is shot and you don't know their relation to really anything. And then suddenly, as they fall down, it's super sad, and they have this weird medieval rock music that plays, like on an electric guitar. It makes absolutely no sense. A lot of the montages felt like discount Ant-Man. Like, you know how Ant-Man, Michael Pena would be talking, and then it would switch to different characters through his voice? That's exactly what they try to do here a lot of the time, and it fails completely, because Ant-Man, on other scenes that weren't exactly that, was fun, was light, was entertaining. And yet, when it came to this movie, it was so super self-serious, and then suddenly super comedic. And a weird thing this movie does, I honestly haven't seen it in too many movies, but it's the type of movie, this also happened kind of with The Great Wall, but even more here. It's where I was watching the movie, I was staring at the screen, yet I didn't feel like I was watching it. It was so weird. I was sitting in the theater, I knew that the movie was in front of me, and my eyes were on the screen, yet I didn't care about anything that was going on. I didn't even feel like I was watching the movie, because everything in this movie is so uninteresting. Not a single scene had me interested or invested in anything going on with the entire film. This makes it so that the movie is honestly just frankly boring. It's non-stop boring. Every single scene is so unendingly just simply uninteresting and boring. It's hard to watch. And the main reason for that is because I didn't care about anything that was going on. Everything. There was no reason to be invested, because everything was so dull, including the aesthetic. If this film could have had anything, it could have been an interesting aesthetic, but it's all gray and all muddy and it's just not nice to look at. And everything in this film, it's either extremely boring or just not nice to look at. And everything just feels so contrived of any inspiration. Guy Ritchie tried to make this movie stylistic and fun, but it was never had a single shade of being fun. It was never entertaining. There are a few good things to take out of this movie, I guess. The fantasy aspect was kind of cool. The world that they built was interesting enough. And Charlie Hunnam actually did do a pretty good job in this role. He spent a lot of time preparing for it. And honestly, he was pretty good in this movie. But it's absolutely nothing remarkable. And it does not stand up to the rest of the movie. With the boring characters, I didn't even mention those. With the complete uninterest. With the dull aesthetic. Everything in this film just feels like it didn't need to be made. Again, rare film where I was staring at the screen, my eyes were completely on everything that was going on, yet I didn't feel like I was watching it. And for that very reason, I will give King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, a 2.25 out of 10. Guys, awful movie. Please don't see it. There's absolutely no reason to, but if you did, let me know what you thought in the comments below, or if you want to see it, I don't know why. But anyway, that concludes my review. So I am Robert Burke, and this has been The Clever Critics. Goodbye.